Hey everyone, my name is Chloe, and I'm kind of the behind-the-scenes person at Discover Sci-Fi, and I am joined today by Matthew Mather, and we're just setting up this live stream, making sure it works. It looks like it works.
I think we're a go. I'm looking on my other screen. There we go. Okay, great.
Awesome.
I'm literally just got off a plane from Heathrow, so about 2 hours ago. I just flew in from England from seeing my family, so I'm a little bit discombobulated, but let's do this.
Together. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
So today's a really special day. Oh, we have 7 viewers. So I'll just mention that everyone who is currently watching, if you like or comment or share this post, you'll be entered in to win a physical copy of CyberStorm shipped to your house. So in the next 4 minutes, we'll pick one of you. So like, comment, and share to be entered. And now we're here to talk about CyberStorm.
Right. Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, so actually, it's amazing. This is 5 years from when I published CyberStorm, which I don't know where all the time goes. Time passes very fast. But the book, so I've done a whole big promotion today where I've got the thing on sale, and I'm giving away lots of copies of it. But, you know, it's been 5 years since I put the book out, but just this week I had a contract signed for translating into 2 different versions of Chinese, and this book just keeps on going and going and going, and yeah, it's sold almost hard to estimate, but I think over 1 million copies now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, thank you very much. Yeah, it's been just an energizer bunny, this book. Yeah, I guess it kind of hit a chord though, I think, and it keeps on. That same thing just keeps on. I think it's something that people really think about, and it just keeps on going. Yeah.
Scott is joining in, and he says, hi, y'all. And John is joining in, and he says, I'm so excited to be here today and learn about CyberStorm. So maybe the first 5 minutes, everyone who likes, comments, or shares will be entered in to win a copy. So maybe you can tell us, or the people who are listening, maybe you can tell us where you're from in the comments, or if you have any questions directly for Matt, you can put those there. So on that note, what was the inspiration for writing it?
Right. So actually the last full-time job that I had before I started becoming before I went full-time into writing was actually working in the cybersecurity field. And so I was, I actually went and I used to go and give presentations in Washington, and I started up a whole cybersecurity group in Seattle, where I had actually Amazon was actually one of our clients. And there's just what I noticed was there's this big disconnect between the cybersecurity community when they're talking about what cyber warfare would look like and the just the general public. When you talk to the general public and you talk about cyber warfare, they always imagine something very clean and involving computers. Whereas you talk to people in the cybersecurity profession and they're like, it'll be very ugly, you know. And so instead of trying to tell people, you know, what would happen, what I wanted to do was to write a book and show people in a very definite way, you know, what it would be like to try and live through a major cyber attack or cyber event from the point of view of one family trying to survive the event. And so that was one of the motivations, and I think, and the book actually has become a little bit famous in the cybersecurity circles. It's 5 years later, and actually I was gonna mention this a little bit later, but Akamai Technologies, which is one of the biggest internet, I think they provide about 30% of the software that the entire world's internet runs on. They've invited me to RSA 2018, which is the biggest cybersecurity conference in the world. It's in April 17th and 18th in San Francisco, and they've actually bought 1,000 copies of CyberStorm, and they're going to be sitting me down in a booth and having me sign them and give them away. And as actually so even in the cybersecurity community, 5 years later, I still have some of the biggest security companies out there inviting me to come and sit down at a booth and buying 1,000 copies of the book, and having real, you know, chief security officers coming by, and they want signed copies of it and all this. So it's really struck a nerve even inside of that community. And one thing I wanted to add was that if anybody wanted to come to RSA 2018, the normal conference pass is $2,500, which I don't think many people would be affording. But to get an expo pass is usually $175. But Akamai Technologies has allowed me to use a code from them. So we're going to put a code into the comments on this post, which we'll put in. We'll put in towards the end of it because we're just doing it live. But everybody uses that code, you can have a free pass. So it's $175, but you can get a free pass from me and Akamai if you happen to be in the Bay Area. So anywhere if you want to come on April 17th and 18th, you could come and see me at the booth. I'll be signing books, giving some talks. So we'll provide a link for that. So have we reached the 5-minute mark yet?
Awesome. Yeah, we just did. So we have a whole bunch of comments and a whole bunch of likes.
All right.
Welcome everyone. So I have like a person picker back here, and the winner is Jordan Bailey. Congratulations.
Jordan. All right. So we've given away our first prize of our little talk here. So Jordan, congratulations. You got a copy of CyberStorm from me. What else do we have going on, Chloe? Oh yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say we'll do another draw in at the 10-minute mark, so keep adding in your comments and questions and likes and all that. And I was just going to ask, do you think we're really at risk for something, an event of that scale?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think that there's a certain level of I don't like to be fear mongering. And so with a book like CyberStorm, people read it and they become very scared. They say, "Is something like this really happen?" And the short answer is yes. I mean, just last week I was reading something in the New York Times where the op-ed was talking about, oh my God, you realize that the Russians have hacked into our electricity grid and water network, and we've known this for 10 years, 15, 20 years. That that other countries we've all basically hacked into each other's critical infrastructure networks, and so there is a possibility of this actually happening. Whether somebody would actually take that step and do that, I think is a fairly remote possibility. But with all the tensions rising between Russia and even smaller players like North Korea, with smaller players like North Korea can have a very asymmetric. In when you do these satellite images of North Korea, it's completely blank. That's because there's no power and they don't have very much internet. But whereas the U.S. is very connected, and so there's an asymmetric thing. And if you did they could do a large cyber attack against us where you wouldn't be able to reciprocate in kind. So is it possible? Yes, but part of the goal of writing a book like this was not as much the fear mongering, but also to sort of show how it could happen, and then also to show how we shouldn't be. One of the problems is with misinformation. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired, everybody. I've just got off a plane from Heathrow, but also I was trying to illustrate in the book the power of misinformation and how the characters inside of the book were inundated with all this misinformation, which is something that also we're getting a lot of now, like with this. Have the Russians hacked somebody? Haven't they? You can't prove it, and you can't even say whether it was them or it was somebody else trying to point towards them. And that's exactly the sort of things that are happening inside of CyberStorm as well, that are being proved out by recent events. So on larger scales and smaller scales, a lot of the stuff that's actually described in CyberStorm is happening. It's even happening right now and has happened in the past.
Oh man. Yeah. I'll just interject. Jeffrey says he got here late. What am I supposed to do to enter? Everyone who's listening, you can just like, comment, or share to enter. So Jeffrey, you've already entered because you commented. So on a happy note, what about, do you think we'll really be at risk for cannibalism?
But so there is an event in CyberStorm where there is something comes about. There's an event where people that does come about, and that wasn't something actually that I just came up with myself. There was this guy, when I go to Washington and do talks, there was this guy who was one of the very top cybersecurity professionals, and one of his favorite points in his book and his talks, what he's given in Washington, he says, you have a major cyber event, within 28 days you're going to see cannibalism, on the streets of major cities and whatever. And so I illustrated this in the book, kind of sideways, I know. But this wasn't something that I brought up. This is something that real cybersecurity professionals had done in talks in Washington. And so I said, I'm going to illustrate this point in a book. Do I think we'd actually get there? I would hope not. But yeah, I had to have a little bit of zombie stuff in there, anyways. Yeah. No, there's no zombies in CyberStorm, but there's a some very bad things happen. Yeah.
Nicholas Scott, she added, I know she's a super fan of yours. She said, your experience and knowledge shows in the book. It's scary because it's so real. And I think that's a very common thread.
Thanks, Nicola.
Yeah.
Are we got the 10-minute point yet?
Oh,
no.
We're at the 10-minute point. So I'm just going to pick another person. And Lori Hill. Lori Hill. So Lori Hill, and the first person was Jordan Bailey. Maybe just DM either. Okay, perfect. Matt, you're on top of it.
Yeah. We'll direct message him or something.
Perfect. So what about the movie? Oh, you were going to say.
Oh, what I was going to say, we've got people liking, commenting, but everybody, if you want to start asking questions, if anybody has any questions they want to pose to me, so, put them down in the comments, and that'll, at the 15-minute mark, we're going to pick another winner for another copy of CyberStorm. So put in some questions, and then we'll start answering them, because we're going to try and we've got another 10, 15 minutes on here. So you're saying, what about the movie version? Actually, Chloe and I were just talking about this just before we came on, and I was emailing my my film agent. I was saying, could I announce this thing? And he said, no, you can't. But what I can say is that we actually just have a new producer that's been attached to CyberStorm movie, the TV film project, as well as a new screenwriter who seems really keyed up for it, and I'm excited to work with them if they're watching. But we're pretty excited, and I think it actually might get off the ground this time. It's been quite a few years, and we've got our friend Ernest Klein. I'm going to go watch Ready Player One tomorrow. So yeah, we've had a few of our friends have made it in getting their books made into film. So I hope CyberStorm makes it over that hump and gets there. Yeah, soon. And hopefully soon I will be able to actually announce something with real names, but not quite yet.
Fingers crossed. One step at a time. And you talked about at the beginning how it was just translated into 2 versions of Chinese recently?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And what are the other latest versions?
Oh.
Foreign language versions.
Turkey. I think we just, for Turkish is language, right? I don't know. I've started to lose track, actually. I think it's at 25 foreign language versions. I'm not sure how many more countries we can keep signing up, but it just keeps on going and going, actually. And I think, actually the Chinese, I don't want to give too much away about the plot of it, but it's really interesting that it got translated to 2 Chinese, the simplified Chinese and the complex character Chinese. I don't know, 2 different versions. But the Chinese do play an interesting role in the book. And it's really interesting that when I'm looking, like when I wrote the book, and we have Russians, we have Chinese, or different geopolitical situations. But it's really interesting when I think that this book is going to be translated in Chinese, and all the Chinese people will read it, because they've got a completely different worldview than we do, and the place that I wrote it from. And I'm really curious to see what some Chinese readers would think, of their place within that story, and how it's really interesting that now 5 years later we have the book actually going to be published and put into paperback and all this in China. Yeah. So fascinating. I'm curious to see what's going to keep happening.
And will it go up on the Chinese Amazon, and they'll be able to review from that country, or how does that work?
Well, I don't think it would go up on Chinese Amazon. It would go up on Alibaba and Baidu, or whatever. And that's the thing. Like, even in the book's actually, there's a South Korean version of it. And in South Korea, the major platforms for digital books are not Amazon. They're completely different platforms. So it is going up, on all these places. And it's interesting. I get. I've done interviews. I've done quite a lot of. You're in Spain right now, Chloe, right? Yeah. So I've just did a whole bunch of interviews with Spanish magazines. The Spanish version actually of CyberStorm was one of the few that actually sold out and got into reprint. It's actually done really well there. And I've had German magazines and South Korean magazines that have called me up to do interviews. So it's it's been really. It's really interesting to we kind of have our view of the world, and we look at the world from where we are, and sort of a North American viewpoint, and look at the world out there. And it's been really interesting to talk to people out there and have them look at the view of America and what we're doing over here through the lens of a book, of this book. It's really allowed me to sort of view the world differently through their eyes. And it's been interesting that the book's been well received in all these different places, actually, given that part of it is a little bit political as well, which is a very touchy, a bit of a landmine to step on sometimes, but it seems to have worked out well. Yeah.
You'll have to enlist some bilingual fans to go check out all the reviews.
I am super curious, actually, to talk to some South Koreans and it's being published in Taiwan and in China, which are obviously got some differing views between those places. So yeah, I'd be super curious if anybody's online from one of those places. I'd be really curious to hear from anybody that's read a different foreign language version. Yeah.
Well, we just hit the 15-minute mark, so I'm going to pull. This is the last person who's going to get a hard copy, and then at the end, we have a really special copy for someone.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to mention. At the end of it, I've got a super special, unique prize, which will be unique in the world, actually, that we'll be giving away at the end. So if you stay on all the way to the end when we do the final prize giveaway, and I won't tell anybody what the final prize is until we actually get there. So yeah, a little bit of a secret. So go ahead. Who's the third person?
Awesome. Okay. It is Lily Clark.
Lily Clark. Congratulations, Lily.
Congratulations. Thanks for joining in, everyone. So be sure, just keep getting your questions in, and we have a really special prize at the end. We actually have some, Jeffrey says, I absolutely love Daytopia and have a couple of others in my to-be-read pile. Love your work. How did you get started writing, and what did you do before you becoming a writer?
Well, I started out, I studied electrical engineering way back when, and then I did research in artificial intelligence. I worked at the McGill Center for Intelligent Machines, but after that, I did some technology startups. Actually raised venture capital and did the whole venture capital cowboy thing, and so I spent the first 20 years of my career doing technology companies, technology startups, and it's only when I got actually to 40 years old, I thought that I was sort of halfway through my life, and I took a year off work and decided to write a book. And the result was Atopia Chronicles, which actually I didn't publish for 2 or 3 years. And then I talked to Hugh Howey, who many of you out there probably know of. I actually met him in New York, and we had lunch one day, and he said, you should just self-publish this thing. I've done so well with this wool thing, which also is very famous. And then I put Atopia on, and then it sold like 40,000 copies, became a bestseller, and it's CyberStorm, and just rode that wave, and then decided to quit my day job. The dream, living the dream.
So did you go back to your day job after the year was up, or you just never went back?
No. I took kind of a sabbatical year. I took a year off, and then at the end of that year, I'd written this book, and I was just like, I don't know what to do with this. And I tried contacting like 100 different publishers, and everybody told me it was too complicated and too big, and it'll never sell. It sold a lot. Sold over 100,000 copies now. Stick that in your ear. So yeah, that's what happened. And it was Hugh Howey who helped me out. So I think he was on a sailboat somewhere in the South Pacific Ocean or something. I don't know where he is. Off having
I think he quit Facebook, so he's never going to see this.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you very much, Hugh. If you're watching. Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
We have. Well, I have a question. So, do writers drink a lot?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, I do my best to, I think there's an archetype of that. But actually, I actually can't. I do like to go out for tipple on, Friday evenings, but actually, when I'm actually writing, I can't even have even if I have one or two glasses of wine the night before. The next morning, just my brain doesn't want to go off into sort of the fantasy land that you need to be in to be able to write. So that old Ernest Hemingway, heavy drinking writer thing in between books maybe, but actually when you're writing, it doesn't help the process at all. It actually needs to be lots of cardio and getting up early and clean living to write well. Yeah.
Good answer.
For me, anyway.
On that note, Sri, I think his name is Gopalan. Do you write your books in one continuous effort, or do you split up the writing over several stages over months?
No, I mean, there's two different types of writers out there. There's the pansters and there's the architects, and I'm more of the architect. So I spend usually 1 to 2 months or 3 months plotting a book and doing and coming up with a plot and then working over the plot and then talking it through with a lot of people. The actual writing of a book, typically, I don't want to take more than 2 months, and it's just one continuous. It's almost like filling in. It's like when you're doing the plotting, it's like you're doing the outlines, and then when you actually do the writing, it's like coloring between the lines. So it's just the book comes out in one continuous kind of rush, and then afterwards you go into editing. So, yeah, for me anyway.
Mark wants to know if you saw the SpaceX launch.
Yes, I have. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid. Probably not going to happen, but with Elon Musk out, if you guys buy like 10 million more of my books, I could join up with Elon Musk and launch myself into space. So, yeah, keep buying books. I'll get up there maybe.
Well, we have lots of fans in the comments who are helping you do that. Rick says, my wife and I read CyberStorm when first published, kept me up very late. The characters were relatable, common everyday heroics rather than over-the-top super heroics.
Yeah, I know. I've done some super heroics in some of my other books, and it's tempting to do them. But yeah. CyberStorm I tried to write as something realistic. People just trying to slug through things. Yeah.
And Nicola asks, when writing, do you have the fact it could be turned into a movie in mind? Does it influence your writing?
Yeah. I mean, I have to admit that I watch a lot more film than I do read books, and so I think I become influenced by this, the screenwriting, the sort of the tempo and the style of movies, and that ends up coming into the books. And yeah, I mean, I think always in your mind you always have more of a visual picture of the world and what's happening. So yeah, but I don't really think about it in terms of being made into a movie when I'm writing something. It's more a film is very kind of superficial, whereas with a book you got a lot more meat that you can attach to it. So yeah, it's much more fun to get down into the weeds with the characters and the emotions and the using the book really as a canvas to be able to talk about things that are sitting kind of on my mind. That's what I really enjoy about the writing stuff. And the movie stuff, if it ever happens one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Well, Gary has a kind of similar question. He said, do you target your writing for paper versions or the ebook version, or is there really much of a difference?
I mean, I write books to be ebook versions, but the paper versions, you can do more stuff with the paper versions. You can have, you can add more graphic elements. I think you can have it can be much nicer and I think more impactful in the paperback versions. But these days, 95% of my sales come through ebook versions. So I kind of think about that first, let's say. Yeah.
But do you spend time doing the design stuff after for the paperback version, or do you not?
Yeah, I mean, like with Nomad, there's it's sort of day one, boom, and you can have like a big graphic day one, and then day two, boom. So you can have a little bit more fun with that. But something I'd really like to do with like what they did with Wool was they did a graphic novel version. They've got like a version of the Kindle book where they've got graphic elements that are added into the into the Kindle book, and I'd really like to do that, explore doing that with a graphic artist. So yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with the a lot of fun stuff that you can do with the ebook versions you wouldn't be able to do with paper as well. So I think there's a lot of stuff to explore. Yeah. Did I mention I just got off the plane from Heathrow?
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. So on that note, we have 5 more minutes left until we're going to let you go to bed or take a nap. Or so anyone who wants to be entered in to win a really special version of CyberStorm, be sure to like, comment, and or share this post right now. So Danny wants to know, when will the Dreaming Tree be out?
Well, so I wouldn't say I put my foot in it, but I've been announcing, my new book, Dreaming Tree, which should have already been out. So something actually very good has happened with that, in that it's, so as you know, I self-publish most of my stuff. I've done a lot of self-publishing, but I have a traditional publisher that took a very keen interest in this. And so it's probably that series of books with a whole set of new characters, which is actually sort of a future detective, science fiction, murder mystery sort of thing that I'm exploring with that, is going to be probably through so it's delayed a little bit because I've got another business transaction that I can't disclose yet, but I will be able to disclose soon, hopefully, which will be nothing but good. But the only thing is, it's going to delay the publication of it a little bit. I'm still writing. I'm actually writing the sequel to that already. I'm already up to my knees in that already. But yeah, it's been delayed. The release that's been delayed a little bit, but nothing but good things, but just delayed a little bit. Yeah.
Lots of secrets you've got in your head.
I know.
Another question: in creating the audio version of your book, what challenges did you encounter?
Well, I've worked with Blackstone Audio on all the audio versions. Well, except for 47 North, which the Atopia Chronicles, I worked directly with Amazon on those. Well, I mean, it's challenging to try and find a voice for the characters. You sort of have this picture in your head, like you got a movie, a sort of a movie version of it. So actually picking the right voice character for the audiobook versions is the most challenging thing. And then with Atopia, we actually had 4 or 5 different voice characters voices that were used. That book was actually kind of a unique, because of just, if anybody's read it, it's just the crazy virtual reality switching bodies and stuff going on. So it made a lot more sense to do that in that particular book. But yeah. It's just finding the voice actor to do it. It's the challenging part.
Did they send you audio clips of people talking, and you just listen and listen and listen until you find one?
They typically will send me 4 or 5 different audio clips of different voice actors, and then you'll sort of pick one, or they'll even say how do you imagine this? A lot of the time actually they'll say, how do you imagine this voice, or what's the accent on this character, and so it will sort of go through a process like that for the audio versions. And audiobooks have actually just become such a huge market. It's one of it's by far the biggest growth market for digital books, the audiobook. So it's becoming just more and more important. And Blackstone's done just an awesome job with my book. So super happy with them.
Nice. I think we probably have time for one more. Craig says the early version of Dream Tree I got a peek at was excellent. Awesome to hear it's getting the recognition it deserves. Yeah,
thank you. I'm pretty excited about it. It's a kind of a crazy. I'm actually really excited to share with everybody. It's kind of a bit of a crazy story, but that's what we write books for, just to explore some of these ideas. Yeah. So, are we at the 30-minute mark? Is there any other questions on there that we want to?
There's a question: do you base characters on people you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I got a sign on my wall that says, "Careful, or you'll end up in my novel." So anybody I encounter, everybody's fair game. Although at the beginning of the book, I say that this isn't based on any real people, but as we all know, that's a lie.
So everyone has to be really nice.
It's not based on anybody. Don't tell my agent that. It's based on all, but sort of loosely. Nothing that you can prove. Not in a court of law, anyway. Anyway.
We have lots of people coming through with the audiobook thumbs up. I love audiobooks. I'll have to look you up on Audible. I love the audio version, listen to it on commute to work. I think that's the thing. People commuting.
Yeah.
They're trying to use the time.
Yeah, and Kindle's got this, or Amazon's got this cool feature where you can read it on your Kindle, and then you can go. It's got Whisper Sync, and so you can actually read it on your Kindle, and then when you want to start the audio version, it'll find out the place where you stop reading on the Kindle, and then if you listen to the audio version, when you stop listening to it, the next time you open your Kindle, it'll automatically put you to where you're reading. I use that. I'm like, this is awesome. Like so you can just sit and listen to it on your iPhone, and then when you pick up your Kindle, you can read the text, and yeah, it's cool.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Very cool.
Technology.
Oh, and technology. Lots of questions about whether CyberStorm is going to be made into a movie. So maybe you can go through after and just answer everyone individually.
The answer is, I hope so. We have, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we have a new producer, a new screenwriter that's been attached to the project just in the last couple of weeks. They're super stoked about it, and it looks like it actually might be making it over that hump. So I can't tell you who it is because they won't let me tell anybody, but I will soon, hopefully. Yes, lots of secrets. Hopefully we'll be able to let loose some of them soon. All right, so we reached the end of our...
Yeah, I'll just say, so every week, Discover Sci-Fi, we do an interview like this, and it's to talk about one of the author's books. And so, as you guys know, CyberStorm's on sale today for $1.99 on Amazon, US, and UK.
Yes, please go buy a copy.
There's a bunch of other deals.
Elon Musk, that's what I need to do. Yeah, go ahead.
10 million more copies, and you'll be on Mars. And then we also, just to highlight, The Revenants is a new release by Jasper T. Scott. That's on a special release price on Amazon. We have Linear Shift by Paul B. Kohler for 99 cents. And Broken Worlds by Drew Avera for 99 cents. So I'm going to put a link in the comments after with all the weekly DSF specials. Had to get that plug in at the end. And
so now's a big announcement. So the extra special prize, which I'm going to give away for everybody that's liked, commented on this video. And so if you're watching over the next day, actually, and you're watching this, and we're only going to pick the winner on the weekend, actually. So anybody who likes or comments on this in the next day or so, you'll be entered into contest for it. So I'm going to be going on April 17th and 18th. I'm going to be at RSA 2018, which is the world's biggest cybersecurity conference, where I've got lots of friends that are actually like the chief security officers of Amazon and these big companies going to be down there. So I'm going to take a copy. I'm going to be signing 1,000 copies of CyberStorm, but I'm going to get a bunch of these chief security officers, real world chief security officers from companies, to actually sign a copy of CyberStorm. So it's going to be like a high school yearbook, CyberStorm, signed by like 100 different cybersecurity professionals. I'm gonna get it signed at RSA. I'm gonna get them all to sign at RSA 2018, and whoever's the winner of this contest, I'm gonna mail you that copy of that book signed by all of these real cybersecurity people. So this is a unique thing that you'll never get anywhere else on the planet. Be a real unique collector's item. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Like, comment, share, any of that stuff, and you could be entered in for this very unique collector's item.
And we'll be announcing the winner on the Facebook.
We'll be announcing. We'll put the winner in on Sunday. We'll put it in the comments. We're going to pick the person on Sunday. So anybody over the next 2 days that likes, comments, or shares this thing, we'll enter you in for that, and then we'll put the winner into the comments on this post. All right.
Perfect.
So, thank you, Chloe. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm going to go get some sleep now.
And Lori, we will put the code into the comments. That's awesome that you're in the Bay Area.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks.